You are going to go into the shop. In the shop, that you are going to see that there is a control line snapped on the floor that's already there for you. All right, what we are going to do is we are going to, off of this control line, we are going to establish a 90-degree angle. We are going to use the Scribe Method. What's great about this Scribe Method is that it requires no math whatsoever. Then after we have a 90-degree angle established, we're then going to go check it using the 3-4-5 method. So our first step here is you want to establish your point of beginning. The point at where your 90-degree angle is going to be. You can pick anywhere you want on your control line. I'm going to pick right here. Now, from that point, I'm going to swing 2 arcs, which are going to intersect on my control line. Okay? Those measurements can be any number that I want. They can be anything. All right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say I'm going to use a 3 foot. I'm going to go with 3 foot. So I'm going to measure 3 feet off of my center line, which is right here. So I'm going to have my partner hold the tape measure, right? And just for this demonstration, what I'm going to do is I'm going to act like if I had a tape measure, and I'm going to swing just 2 lines that go like this and like this. Okay? So right now I have 3 feet and 3 feet. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a nail, or I'll have my partner hold me on these 2 points that I just created, and I'm going to swing 2 more arcs that I'm going to have intersect each other. Where those 2 arcs intersect will be 90 degrees right above that point right there. Okay? So again, it's the same thing. I can pick any number I want. So for this, I'm just going to say I'm going to go 4 feet. All right, so I'm going to go 4 feet from here, swing, and I come back over here, 4 feet from here. Okay? I am then going to go take my chalk line, snap my chalk line, but for this demonstration, I'm just using a straight edge. And I've now created a 90-degree angle. Now, let's check this. How do we know it's right? Because Brian told me so? What we're going to do is we're going to go and we're going to check it with a 3-4-5. So what we are going to do now is we are going to erect a parallel line with this one using the swinging 2 arcs method. Now, we can go off of any point on this line. So all we have to do is your partner is going to hold 0 at anywhere on the line. So you can hold it right here. And you're going to measure out 3 feet. And you are going to swing an arc. Where the top of the arch hits is exactly 3 feet from your existing line. When you snap your line, coming down like that, now our final step is very simple. All we're going to do is we're going to measure up 3 feet up off of the control line, 3 feet off of this line that we just made, and we snap our line going across. Alright. So what our next step is going to be now is we're now going to go and make an octagon inside of the square that you just created. For this demonstration, I drew a 2 foot by 2 foot square, as you can see here in front of you. Alright, so your first step is going to be, is with your partner, you are going to go and snap a diagonal line, which you can see right here. Okay? Once you have that diagonal line snapped, you are then going to measure up 2 feet. Alright, the 2 foot is the side of the square. Okay? Then what you are going to do is you measure from the corner to where your mark is. What that measurement is, that is going to give you the leg of your octagon. Okay? Now, when I measure it, I have 10 inches. Okay? next step is going to be is you're going to find the center of your square. Come over, I'll make a mark at 12 inches. Okay, I'm then going to come over half of my distance of my 10 inches that I had. So 12, that's going to give me 7 inches. What I'm going to do then is I'm going to come over and I'm going to take a measurement. And I have 7 inches remaining. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around the square off each corner and I'm going to measure 7 inches over. So I'm then going to go with my partner and snap a line on the marks that I just created. And there is our octagon. What we're going to be going and doing next is we're going to be doing a segmental arch. Segmental arches are very common in drywall construction, and you'll find them in such in places as soffits and even some walls, and also they're very common in commercial construction. In order to lay out for a segmental arch, you need two pieces of information. The two pieces of information that you need is number one, what is the length of your cord going to be? And number two, off of your cord, how high up, or what they call the rise. What's the rise going to be? What I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually use my 2 foot by 2 foot square for my segmented arch. So I know that my cord length is going to be 2 feet. I'm going to give myself a rise of 6 inches. So what I want to do is, first step is, I want to go and I want to find out where is the center of my square. So I know 2 foot, it's going to be 1 foot. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure up off my 1 foot mark. I'm going to come out 6 inches. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go and I'm going to create another cord. Alright, so I'm going to come from here to here. Alright, you and your partner are then going to go, you're going to snap a line that goes from here to there. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to find the center point of the newly snapped cord that you just made. Alright. So, what we are going to do next is I'm going to swing off of these 2 points right here so I can snap a line to establish where my radius point is. And again, this can be any number that you pick, choose. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use 1 foot. I'm going to swing an arc right here. I'll come up off this point. Swing an arc right here like this. Now, off of my center point, you and your partner are now going to go and you're going to snap that line. This point right here is now your radius point for you to swing the segmental arch. So now what you are going to do is you're going to go down, have your partner hold one end right here. You're going to pull your tape out right here. And what you are going to do is you're going to read it, and then you're just going to swing an arch just like that all the way across. And after you are done swinging it, your arch should look something just like this, connecting at both the points and hitting at your rise.
A variation is to use just a segment of a larger circle. The circle that makes up this segmental arch still has its center aligned with the midpoint of the span, but it's dropped below the spring line and its radius is increased. This type of arch is called a segmental or segmented arch, since we're only using a segment of the circle. If you know the required span and height, the required radius can be calculated, but it can also be constructed using geometry. First, draw a perpendicular line from the midpoint of the spring line to the desired height. Next, use a straight edge to connect the top of the height line to an endpoint of the spring line. This line creates a chord for the desired arc. To find the center point of the arc, bisect the chord line by finding its midpoint, and then draw a perpendicular line that extends below the spring line and past the center. This operation can be repeated on the opposite side, or a perpendicular line can be extended below the midpoint of the spring line. All these lines intersect at the same point, the new center of the arch. The radius for this arch is the distance between the center point and an end point of the spring line. To draw out the arch, place the pivot point of the trammel on the center point and then slide the marking point out to an end point. Then swing an arc to close off the top of the arch.
In an ideal world, you always have room to layer a radius point. But what happens when you do not have it? That means we don't have the room. What I'm going to show you next is how we can do a segmental arch using a method called quartering the rise. So, just like the last action we did, we still do need two pieces of information, the same as before. I need to know what my length is right here, and I also need to know what my rise is going to be. What we're going to do is we're going to go with the same information. So I'm going to go 6 inches for my rise and 2 feet right here. So just like before, what we're going to do is we're going to find our center point of our square, and we're going to come out, measure out 6 inches. Now what I'm going to do with your partner, you're going to snap a line from here to here, and then from here to here. Our next step is we are going to find the center of both of these chords right now that we just created. So now that I have my center lines established for my new chords, what I have to do now is I have to figure out what is a quarter of my rise. And when I figure that out, I'm going to come up off of my center point, that measurement. So a quarter of 6 is 1.5 inches. Okay, so what I'm going to do, you can use your framing squares for this. You're going to come up at 90 degrees like this, 1.5 inches. Make a point. Same thing down here, off the line, measure up 1.5 inches, make a point. And what you're going to do is you are then going to connect and make some new lines, and you've now created 2 new chords. Just like what we did in the previous step, you're then going to go, you're going to find your center. And now what we're going to do is we're going to find a quarter of 1.5 inches, which is 3/8 of an inch. And just like before, what we're going to do is we're going to come up at 90 degrees, and we're going to measure up 3/8 of an inch, 3/8 of an inch, 3/8 and 3/8, and we're going to connect the dots. And as you can see, we now have the roundness that we have over here at this arch without finding our radius points. What the next step that you would do is you then get some type of flexible wire, sealing wire, copper wire, and you would actually run it around these points so then you can just trace it onto the floor.